Hello, my beautiful friends. It's Amanda here, and today we're talking about some new makeup from NARS. They sent over a few pieces from their new Afterglow collection, including this Afterglow Tempting Eyeshadow Palette, one of the new lip oils, and a couple of liquid blushes. So I'm going to share all of those pieces with you. We're going to look at close-ups, swatches. Of course, I'm wearing everything on my face today, so you'll get to see these things in action. And I have a couple of palette comparisons for you as well. I'm going to demo everything for you and I'm going to share all my thoughts along the way. So let's start with the Afterglow Lip Oil in the shade Faraway. Here's a close-up look at the Afterglow Lip Oil in Faraway. The applicator is a small, flexible, flat paddle applicator, and there are 3 other shades in this Afterglow Lip Oil formula. They're retail priced at $28 each, with the exception of the shade called Wondrous, which is more of a deep purpley berry type of color. We're looking at a lot of very air quotes approachable, more neutrally type shades. Far Away is the more warm nude. There's also a pinky shade that's called Twirl. And then there is, of course, the classic NARS Orgasm shade. Of course there is. Feel a little bit torn on this lip oil because it is definitely the item that I see myself absolutely using every last drop of. So it feels like it is probably the most worth the price tag. And $28 is no small price tag for a single lip oil. There are definitely great drugstore and more affordable options that are going to give you a similar look, a similar feel on the lips for half the price or maybe even less than half the price. But I do feel like this, for me, will have a great use value. And I do tend to be drawn towards a lot of these more high-end hydrating lip products, partially just because I feel like a fancy lady when I use them, and partially because it genuinely feels like a good investment to me because I always use them up. So feel a little bit torn on that one because it's probably the item that I feel like has the best value. Therefore, I want to recommend it. But I also feel like it's the one item that I could most easily find a more affordable, similar option for. So it's 50-50. I think for me, I really like it. I would buy it. I would use it up. But I could easily see why it's not the type of thing that everybody wants to throw 28 bucks at. Let's move on now to the Afterglow liquid blushes. I have 2 shades here. These are priced at $32 US a piece. One of the shades that I have, this one Insatiable, is not a newly released shade. It's not part of this Afterglow collection. It seems like there are 6 existing shades within this little Afterglow blush line that were already existing. And then the other shade that you see me using here, this more deep chestnutty terracotta color called Aragón, is one of the new Afterglow collection shades. I haven't tried any of these Afterglow liquid blushes before this point. The video that you're watching right now is my first time trying them, which is why I did a super light layer first just to see what the pigmentation looks like, what the blend out was like, and then I went and layered it up some more to give myself a little bit more pigmentation. I had tried NARS liquid blushes previously, many years ago when they came out in the little square bottles with the black pump that looked like their foundation bottle pumps. Those I had tried, I was a huge fan of. This seems to be a very similar formulation performance-wise. It's giving me a lot of the same textures, a lot of the same buildable quality, but it's just in a different packaging. And I have to say, I do really like this big oversized doe foot packaging. I just think that it works well for this type of product. It travels better, it's more user friendly overall. So I do like this change in packaging. And of the two shades, I really, really like this Aragon shade. This is the one from the Afterglow collection. There are three new Afterglow liquid blushes that have just been released. This is the only one of the three that I have, but I will link the NARS website down in the description box if you want to go check out the other shades. I love liquid blush. I wear it a lot. I especially like a formula like this that stays quite dewy, even though it does completely dry down on the face. I like that it blends out well with both a fingertip application as well as this little stippling brush. Stippling brush blending is my preferred method as somebody who wears cream blush pretty much every single day. I like how it looks. It's easier, it's faster. For me, I think that the finish is even more natural, but this does look nice with the fingertip blending method as well. And I assume that a little sponge blend would also work. That's just not my preference. I find that I end up accidentally disturbing my other makeup a lot more with the sponge than these other two methods. I decided to just go ahead and layer both colors on each cheek because I did a cheek swatch for each one of the blushes that I had here. As you saw, you got to see one on each side, and they did look different enough that I felt like it was really going to throw me off for the rest of the day if I had those two different blushes on. So these layered beautifully. I think that the end result is very fresh, natural, hydrated, and dewy looking, but not wet, greasy, tacky feeling. So, all in all, really like this blush formula and I love the updated packaging. The last piece we're going to talk about today is the Afterglow Tempting eyeshadow palette. This has 9 eyeshadow shades inside and it's priced at 49 US dollars. The palette itself has the shiny pink plastic packaging that matches the Afterglow blush packaging. So it's easy to wipe clean, nice and compact, has a very good clear mirror inside. So I could see this being very travel friendly. As you can see, looking at the pans here, this is a very shimmery palette. We have 6 shimmer shades and 3 mattes. This is a very classic NARS color story for an eyeshadow palette in that it is heavily neutral and definitely leaning towards warm neutrals. I think some of the product photos of this palette look like it's a lot more cool toned than it actually is. So just be aware if you are interested in this one. This is a very warm palette. I would not even call this true neutrals in any way. This is a warm toned palette. I really like the addition of the shade Haze, which is that lavender matte shade. And I love the performance of NARS mattes in particular. I feel like that is where their eyeshadow formula really shines for me. They don't do really, really intensely shimmery or foily type of metallic shades. They really stick to shimmers and not so much metallics. And I am somebody who loves a fiercely shimmery, foily metallic type of eyelid. So I do tend to feel more impressed by their mattes than by their shimmers. Not that there is anything wrong with these shimmer shades. I do think they're designed to be more on that medium shimmer spectrum. I think that's what a lot of people look for. There's definitely a customer base for that, especially right now when the trend is more towards a softer eye look. That all over just little shimmery sparkle type of lid look is really trending right now. I think it suits a lot of people, and also I think it's a very customer friendly type of look and type of formula because anybody can look great. Anybody can achieve that type of look. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. Just because I personally prefer something with a little bit more metallic, a little bit more oomph to the shimmers, I think that this is still a great palette. I think there's a huge customer base for this palette. And even though I'm probably not necessarily the target audience, I can still find a lot of things to appreciate here. I think these mattes layer beautifully. They look very, very even on the lid. There's not skipping, patching, they're not muddying up, they're not blending each other away, and even layering these shimmers on top can give a little bit more of that oomph that I'm looking for from lid shimmers. Ultimately, I see myself using this as a travel slash companion palette because I do think I would end up wanting a little bit more colorful options. Definitely want more matte options. But I can't deny that I love the way my eye look turned out. It's not the palette that I would stay up at night dreaming about, but I also wouldn't kick it off of my vanity. So for me, it's a little bit of middle of the road, but I think that the person that is the target audience for this palette is gonna love it. There's no performance issues. I wore this eye look all day and it looked beautiful by the end of the day. When I was removing my makeup, I had no creasing, no fallout, nothing like that. I was really, really pleased with the staying power in particular of these eyeshadows. And I think that's where we're going to see this palette being competitive is the quality is there. Even if the color story isn't grabbing you, forcing you to pay attention, it's going to be a reliable product. And that's why I think ultimately NARS eyeshadows are continually sustaining such a good reputation because the quality truly is there. But I'm sure that after looking at this palette, you're thinking, oh, I probably already have colors like that. So, of course, we have to do a few palette comparisons. I just pulled the first few that really piqued my interest. And the very first thing I thought of is the She's in Parties palette from Melt Cosmetics. She's in Parties is definitely cooler. It's definitely darker. Probably gonna give you some similar vibes, not one to one exact same looks. She's in Parties is truly a mauve and purple and maroon palette. There is not a warm neutral to be seen. So I actually think these two could work really nicely together as companion palettes. Next up is the Eternal Twilight palette from Odin's Eye, and this one didn't give me a lot of one-to-one dupes, but I actually love this little color story that I pulled from Odin's Eye Eternal Twilight. This is the type of color story, the comparison swatches that I think I would be more drawn to. There's just a little bit more color variety and I personally like the comparison swatches better, but they're not really that similar. I just wanted to swatch some Odin's eyeshadows at this point. Next, we have the Rose Quartz palette from Huda Beauty. This is one of my all-time favorite Huda palettes, and this is a pretty darn good comparison. Some of the shimmer shades are a little bit off. I think the Huda shimmers are actually more cool toned than the NARS ones. But if you have rose quartz, you definitely can already create a lot of these looks. The main thing that rose quartz is lacking is that reddish rose gold shimmer at the end, but I prefer the Huda shimmer formulas to the NARS shimmer formulas. So just something to keep in mind there. Now, the running theme of me pulling comparison palettes that are notably more cool toned than this Afterglow Tempting palette continues. Pretty Please, another great companion palette in my opinion. Overall, Pretty Please is a little bit lighter and a lot more neutral slash cool toned. Ultimately, I think that the Pretty Please palette is a little bit more interesting just because of those cooler toned mattes in there, but that's a personal preference. And I did save the best for last here, the ColourPop Rock Candy palette, which the ColourPop Mega palettes always come through for me for comparisons. This is by far the closest one-to-one dupe, in my opinion. If you have rock candy, you definitely already have all of these shades. And if you are interested in this color story, rock candy is way bigger and definitely less expensive. So just something to keep in mind. I think I'm predisposed to like a lot of these products because we're hitting a bunch of my personal favorite makeup aesthetics and makeup products here. I love a really hydrated, skincare-like feeling lip, especially a color like this warm terracotta nude type of color that is just an absolute go-to for me. This is the type of thing that I wear all day, every day, no matter if I'm wearing just sunscreen that day, all the way up to something very, very glamorous. I almost always am reaching for a lip color like this. The same goes for a really dewy liquid blush type of product. I love a cream or liquid cheek product. I like something that gives me a little bit of a dewy look, a little casually sweaty look, if you will. And I'm not wearing any highlighter. It's just the finish of these blushes is very pleasing to me. And if you've been around this channel for any amount of time, then you will be well aware that purple is one of my all-time favorite eyeshadow colors to wear. I really enjoy the purple adjacentness of this palette. In general, it is very neutral. That's sort of what I expect from NARS Cosmetics as far as an eyeshadow palette goes. They tend to stay in that daily wear neutral type of color scheme. So I like seeing them add in these purples. I love that there is a little duochrome shade in here. This is a little bit more shimmery than I prefer because it is 6 shimmer shades and only 3 mattes. I tend to prefer something that is a little bit more of a 50-50 ratio as far as mattes to shimmers goes. But in general, I think that this is a really nice direction for NARS. It's definitely something I can see myself wearing quite a lot, even though I don't imagine that I will have hundreds of different types of eye looks coming out of this palette. I do think that the, 5 or 6 different looks that I could create with this are going to all be looks that I will enjoy and I'll feel comfortable in and that I will want to wear. Even though it's not the most innovative out of the box type of color story, it is a color story that I'm personally attracted to. So that leads me to really liking this one. But I would love to hear what you think about this collection, particularly the eyeshadow palette. Are you interested in this one? Are you going to be picking it up? Maybe go in store to check it out. I know this is available at Sephora, and I will look to see if this collection is also at Ulta. Anywhere that I can find these pieces online, I'll link down in the description box if you want to check them out for yourself. But I always love to hear what you think about things too, so make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments down below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye! Hey, wait, hey, I do love a purple eyeshadow. Do I need more purple eyeshadow? Probably need isn't the word, but I do like it. Glowy cheeks, hydrated lips, purple sparkly eyes. I'm happy. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to film. Everybody stop texting. Busy. Show you shit. Huh? But leave it. What? What? Man, I could not formulate a thought today. Me acting like that's just a today thing. All right, I got a couple of swatches to film for this video, and I'm going to try to film another one today so that I can have some footage available because I'm probably not going to be able to film that much this week, but I'm going to try to work ahead so that I don't miss any uploads. I'm going to try my best. That's all we can do. That's all any of us can do, really. And if that's what you're doing, then you're doing a good job. Just hang in there, We're going to stick together and we're just going to keep doing our best. And I'm going to be here to have your back. You want to know why? Because I love your face. I'll see you soon. Bye.